Now we will talk about the objectives of material control. Why is material control essential? First reason as to why you need material control in place is because you have to ensure economy of purchase. Now, what is meant by economy of purchase? Okay. Uh, Now, there are two parts to this. First thing is uh, it gives you power to negotiate on the price. Okay, so imagine you were to buy one quantity, and imagine you were planning to buy 1,000 units of the same product. So when you go for procurement of 1,000 units, what happens is you have better negotiation over there. You would be able to negotiate the price much better. You would be able to negotiate the price much better. I remember there was this certain organization with which I had a close association, and then we had a need for pickle. I'm sure you must have seen the packed pickles that comes in sachets. And now, by based on our personal experience, sometimes when we purchase these pickles from shops, we would end up paying like 1 rupee. Okay, we would end up paying 1 rupee. But this particular organization for whom I was associated with, we had a demand for 5,000 units. So what we did was we got in touch with the suppliers directly. The supplier was Archie, okay? And we did a negotiation with them, and they provided the pickle to us as cheap as 35 paise. Okay, so what is costing 1 rupee in the market, we got it as cheap as 35 paise. Now, why were we able to do this? Because we were operating at a certain scale. We were not talking about one, we were not talking about 10, but we were talking about 5,000 units. So, because of which we were able to negotiate on the price. So, whenever organizations think of bulk purchase, okay, whenever organizations would go in for bulk purchase, this is how they would be able to negotiate. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us must have had some kind of an experience when we go to purchase some of the essential items. Let's say like soap, or let's say like surf powder. When we buy it from our local department stores, we may have to pay the full price. But when we go to supermarkets like Big Bazaar, or when we go to Reliance Fresh, or when we go to certain e-commerce platforms like Big Basket or Amazon, we are able to get a very competitive price. So how is it that these supermarket chains and these e-commerce companies are able to offer it to us at such competitive prices? They are able to do so because they are able to get in touch with the suppliers of these essential items, and they are able to negotiate on a price. So if Reliance Fresh were to go to, let's say, Surf Excel's factory, and they were able to say, look, we want Surf Excel, we want certain quantity, and we are talking about a pan India operation, so they're able to effectively negotiate the price. So when they effectively negotiate on the price, they are able to operate on what is called as economy of scale. Okay, so by bringing in material control, you are able to understand how much of quantity is consumed at various places. You're able to negotiate the price effectively, and then you're able to operate on an economy of scale. Second objective as to why you would need material control is to maintain appropriate stock. Okay, now there are two conditions that every organization would face. First is the condition of understocking, second is the condition of overstocking. Now, what is meant by understocking? Understocking is where you do not have sufficient amount of material with you. Overstocking is you have over and above material stocked up with you. Okay. Now, these two are a concern for your organization. So, when you talk about understocking, what will happen is you have less than what you actually have. When you talk about overstocking, you have more than what you actually have. Okay, so there in cost accounting, there is a concept that which is called as EOQ. EOQ stands for economic order quantity. So what is economic order quantity? That is the optimum level of your raw material or stock such that there is neither too much of wastage, neither is the item too less. Now that is referred to as EOQ, economic order quantity. So by bringing in material control, you are able to ensure adequate quantity of material is made available to you. Now, we will discuss some more objectives. The next objective as to why you would need material control is to minimize wastage. Okay? Now, what is meant by wastage? Wastage is, you buy and then you may not be able to effectively utilize it all, and then the rest goes as waste. Okay, so what happens is when you have material cost control in place, you're able to arrange better techniques. You're able to bring about better storage facilities. Okay, now imagine a big warehouse. So how Amazon would manage their inventory is they would have centralized warehouses. Okay, they would have huge warehouses which are set apart. So for example, the other day I was interacting with a family friend of mine. He works for a company called as DHL. And then he was telling, the kind of precautions the company takes, the kind of precautions the company takes, to protect their warehouses from fire, to protect the warehouses from flood. Okay, so how are they able to ensure all this? Because they have a centralized material control team which is involved. They have processes in place, as a result of which they are able to ensure this. So when you bring in material control into place, you're able to incorporate better techniques. You're able to bring about better arrangements. Then when you have material control in place, you're able to minimize the associated cost. Now, when we talk about material cost, it is just not the cost of the material. It's just not talking about the MRP or the price that you have to pay for the raw material. Along with that, there are a lot of other things which are involved. So there would be a transportation cost which is involved. It may need, just in case if it's something that is very costly, if there is something that is very expensive, you may have to arrange for certain security. So sometimes some of us may have noticed when there's a real estate project which is going on about in our neighborhood. Okay, the first thing that they would do is they would build up a shed. Now why are they constructing the shed? Because they may have to store the cement, they may have to store some certain other material which is associated with construction. And then what the real estate company would do is they would arrange for a security guard. Now, by doing so, the company is able to minimize on the associated costs. So when you have material control in place, you're able to reduce the associated costs. Then finally, it helps you to manage your reporting about material management. So when you have material control in place, it helps you to maintain your records better, and it helps you with the generation of reports in an easier manner. Okay, so first thing is that it helps you to maintain your records, and next thing is that it helps you with your reporting. Okay, so these are the 5 objectives as to why you would need material control